Hey everyone! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will move on to episode 5 of the Learn in Python series. In this episode, we will learn about 2D and 3D lists, which are both advanced concepts that are related to lists. So let's get started! Let's go on to the first topic of the day, 2D lists. So what are 2D lists? 2D lists are basically a list or multiple lists inside another list. A 2D list consists of one set of outer square brackets, and this square brackets holds the list or lists inside of it. Lists inside the outer list are separated by commas. These smaller lists will contain the data. Here's an example. So first we have the name of the list, which is 2D list. You can name it whatever you want. And then we have our outer brackets. Here's the opening and here's the closing. And inside of this outer bracket, we have 3 smaller lists separated by commas. Now I'll show you how to create a 2D list in a repo.it project. So first start off with the name. Now make that equal to a set of square brackets, and when you're inside the square brackets, press enter. Now inside the square brackets, here's where we're going to type in our smaller lists. So type in another set of square brackets, and this is going to be smaller list number 1. So here you can type in anything you want. I'm just going to type in a few alphabets. Do the same thing for all of the smaller lists inside, and make sure to separate all your lists with commas. Okay, so now I'm done creating my 2D list. And you can have as much smaller lists inside your 2D list as you want. I just created 3. So now to print this list, it's the same way to print it for like lists, variables, dictionaries, tuples, for all of them. So you just do print and then the name of the 2D list. So now when we print this list, it actually prints this 2D list in the console. We know how to access values in regular 1D lists, but how would we access values in 2D lists? Well, here is how. So the list inside the main list is the 0th index. Printing out print 2D list 0 would print out the first list, which would be this one in this case. To get an item inside that 0th list, you would have to do 0, 0, which is the 0th list to the 0th item, which would be this one. So if we printed out 2D list 0, 0, then it would print out 1. Now let's see how to access an item in a 2D list in our repo.it project. Let's first create a 2D list. So now we have our 2D list. Next, let's access an item in the list using a print statement. So print the name of the list and then a set of square brackets. The first step is to access the list that E is located in. That list is the first index because the first list is the 0th index and the second list is the first index. So in the first set of square brackets, we type in 1. Next, let's create another set of square brackets. Now we need to find out which index E is in that list. In this example, E is the first index in that list. So in the second square brackets, we type in 1. When we run this code in the repo.it console, it should print out E. Next, let's learn about 3D lists. 3D lists are very similar to 2D lists, but it's just a little different. 3D lists are actually list or lists inside another list or lists inside another outer list. So as we can see over here, here's the outer list. Then we have 3 smaller lists inside. So this is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. Then inside each of those smaller lists, there's even smaller lists inside. Each of these smaller lists have 3 smaller lists inside. So this is why it's a list or lists inside another list inside another list. Next, I'm going to quickly show you an example for 3D list to help you understand how this works a little more. So first, start off with the name, and then type in a set of outer brackets. Next, let's create 3 empty lists inside, separated by commas. I'm leaving these 3 lists empty because we're going to put even smaller lists inside of these. So now let's create some even smaller lists inside of these lists. And make sure that all of your lists inside of these lists have to be separated by commas. Okay, so now we have a few smaller lists inside of those empty lists that we created earlier. So as you can see, I created a small list, and then I separated by a comma and added another small list. Now if we print this list and run the code, it prints out this whole list. Now let's take a look at how to access 3D lists. In a 3D list, the concept is basically the same as 2D lists, but there are 3 steps instead of 2. First, you need to access the 0th list, which would be this list. Then, the 0th list inside that 0th list, which would be this list. And then the 0th item, which would be 1. So here, if we printed out 3D list 000, the output would be 1. Now let's see how to access an item in a 2D list in our REPL.it project. Let's first create a 2D list. So now we have our 2D list. Next, let's access an item in the list using a print statement. So print the name of the list and then a set of square brackets. The first step is to access the list that E is located in. That list is the first index because the first list is the 0th index and the second list is the first index. So in the first set of square brackets, we type in 1. Next, let's create another set of square brackets. Now we need to find out which index E is in that list. In this example, E is the first index in that list. So in the second square brackets, we type in 1. When we run this code in the REPL.it console, it should print out E. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to hit that like button and leave a comment regarding this episode so that I'll know how to make future episodes. Also, make sure to subscribe to this channel so that you'll know when future courses are released. See you in the next video!